Band, choir, and orchestra directors. If you're working on intonation with your ensembles and you're struggling a bit, you've landed in the right place. I'm Jill at Sheet Music Plus, and this is the third installment in our Intonation 101 series. If you haven't seen our first two videos on tone quality and pitch flexibility, you should go back and watch those and then hit like and follow or subscribe so that you don't miss the rest of the series. In the last video on pitch flexibility, I talked about when I introduce electronic tuners in the class, and today I'm going to talk about how to get students to use them consistently. We're going to be joined by a special guest who was very upset that he was not included in the first two segments in this video. But before I do that, I would like to mention that this is about the time where I explain to students kind of what bad intonation is and why we are working on the things that we're working on. And I do that by picking out a student who is going to play the same instrument that I'm going to play, and I will ask them to play their tuning note. And then I will purposely play either very sharp or very flat. A lot of the students in your class will be able to hear this right away and they will cringe and be like, ew, and that's the reaction that you're going for. But there are some students who their ear takes a little longer to develop and they will not be able to hear it. And it's important that you mention to them that if they can't hear it right away, that's okay, because this, just like everything else, is a skill that develops over time and you can develop your ear for pitch. And there are a lot of vocal teachers out there who are not used to using electronic tuners, but I would encourage you to give it a try, especially for students who can't hear it right away, because sometimes with students who struggle to hear those pitches, the visual cue of the lights moving back and forth is easier for them to process than the auditory cue when their ear is not developed enough yet. So to develop consistency, the first thing that I do is I give each student a pitch check chart, and I will put that up here so you can see it. And I'm going to put a link in our bio so that you'll be able to download a free PDF copy. This is a chart that I print for each student, and they just keep it in their folder with all their music, and so that they're able to check themselves on a regular basis. How often they're going to check is going to depend a lot on your program, how often you see the kids, and the resources available to you. The first thing that you need to do is develop your system for how you're going to tune kids. Maybe you only see your kids every other day for an hour, but you only have one tuner. So you may need to tune 2 or 3 sections a day, and each student marks their chart, and then they don't get to tune again until a couple of weeks later. Maybe it looks like you see your kids every day and you have enough tuners to go around so that each section leader can have one, so they get to tune every day. Maybe your kids are 1-to-1 and they have access to a tablet, and so they can tune themselves every day. It's whatever works for you, as long as it's a consistent basis. Every time they tune, they're going to either circle sharp or flat, that's the plus or minus on there, and then write in the number of cents approximately that they were sharp or flat. And they're going to do this several times throughout the course of days or weeks. As you go along, you're going to be training students to adjust their instrument, whether that is pushing in or pulling out on mouthpieces, whether that is tuning strings. If your students are ready to tune their own strings by this point, maybe you're still at the point where you're tuning strings for them, or adjusting their voice based on how sharp or flat that they are. And what you want the students to be doing is looking for trends over time. Oh, I tend to be flat. I tend to be sharp. And so that knowledge and that awareness starts creeping into where they are so that they can set their instrument more accurately, or they can adjust their voice more accurately. It's important to stress to students that they're not going to be perfect every time, and that a lot of factors will affect their intonation. And so it's okay if they're way off one day or multiple days, and that this is just part of the journey and the process in getting good intonation, because it's never going to be perfect, even for the pros. So don't forget to visit the link to get this chart, a free downloadable version, and then you can use that one, or you can use it as a jumping off point to make your own if you want it to be a little bit different than mine. And like I said, don't forget to follow along on our journey to good intonation. Next week, we're going to be talking about using drones and developing our ears so that we do not need to rely on the electronic tuner as much. Catch you next time.